Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed speakers, guest panelists that you were, and the most tenacious of all of our Congress participants who are still with us on the morning of day 3, a big bravo. In fact, I think you should go on 1, 2, 3, yes, because you are still here. So after 3, 1, 2, 3, yes! You have done superbly well. Your brains must be fizzing. I am really, really happy to join you all again in this huge auditorium that makes me feel like a rock star, to pull together some of the strands of all of these sessions over the last couple of days. First things first, are you all plugged into the right channel so that you can follow in the language that you need to? Please take a moment now to set yourself up. You don't want to miss the important closing session. Secondly, are all phones on silent, please? And I know that you're absolutely sick of me asking, but go on, you can tweet using hashtag E&E Congress 2016. You can even tweet throughout the weekend and beyond, because that really is the point of using this fantastic event to build an even larger community of really active multipliers to spread important messages about your industries. So, my job, just before lunch at 1:30, is to sum up a few of the key points that I heard in the discussions on day 1 and yesterday, and also to introduce the last 2 fine speakers who are sitting here looking very important and pink and suited, who are going to officially close the Congress. Now, for those who weren't in it, yesterday I chaired a session on communications, at the end of which we gave birth to a whole new generation of hashtag asphalt advantages message multipliers. And then in the afternoon, we enjoyed a really interesting debate on smart management of road infrastructure, different kinds of funding issues, different examples of best practice. And around all of those seminars, I know that you enjoyed a wealth of technical sessions. Now, as much as I have fallen in love with bitumen and asphalt over these last few days, I am not going to attempt to summarize those technical sessions. I leave that in just a moment to the master, who is sitting on my right. You may smile and look like the master, Egbert Berving of EAPA. But before I do, from my perspective, who's come in from the outside to these days, just a couple of key points that I personally have taken away. First of all, for me, the theme that came up again and again and again is the need for communication. And I'm going to quote for a second time from the excellent Eurobitume magazine, and again the president of the Slovenian Asphalt Association, who said, while the asphalt industry has invested a lot of time and expertise into this valuable asset, I feel that now is the time for road users and government to do the same. We cannot continue on this declining path of reduced funding for road construction and maintenance. Now, we had some really good input and some ideas and enthusiasm in the communications workshop. I know it can be difficult to prioritize this. Maybe there's a lack of knowledge, a lack of time, maybe a fear around the costs. So I'm going to go away and do some more work for Eurobitume in the coming couple of weeks to look at some easy, cost-effective actions that can support interested stakeholders in taking communications forward in a systematic way. In the meantime, you have lots of easy tools and messages that are on the Asphalt Advantages website. Really, it took a hell of a lot to get that website into place, and there's lots too of brilliant communications case studies which the speakers in my session actually brought to life. So if you want to be enthused by any ideas around that, look up the speakers on the communications seminar and get in touch with them. What I did want to bring to the fore is that Ariane de Bont of Ooms Civil, I'm not sure I pronounced that any better the second time, I apologise. He talked to us on the first day about the development of a durable third-generation porous asphalt. And he reminded us in the communications workshop that one of the best ways of reaching audiences is also to push out examples of industry innovation to the media and policymakers. It's all about stories. And his organisation has done exactly that. And I hope that you were also inspired by Thierry Gauget, who on day one did that whole presentation on R&D and innovation, and also on how road infrastructure can support this whole revolution, this whole new mobility of the future. Of course, climate change and reducing CO2 emissions was one of the hot topics of the session on what the industry can provide. We were very privileged to hear some case studies from Denmark and the Netherlands. And in our last session on external factors, we heard about the need for continued collaboration and data sharing with the automotive industry and the importance of future cooperation between the oil petroleum industry associations and the bitumen industry associations to ensure security of supply. Why do I talk about that? Because again, somebody made a very pertinent comment in the communications workshop which said, maybe we don't just need to think about who we are talking to, but also with. So he said, you know, it might be interesting to look at other associations in our industry to think about partnering up so that we can reinforce our communications to the road user and to policymakers. And I think that was a very important point. I could say so much more. I've talked enough and I need to release you for lunch and planes and trains. So, more importantly before that, I would like to invite to take the floor this technical master. He is going to give his takeaways on the technical sessions and generally on the Congress. A big round of applause, please, for Egbert Berving of the European Asphalt Pavement Association. A warm round of applause, please.
Introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm pleased to see you again, and I'm also very happy to share my notes with you. So in fact the slides I'm going to show can be seen as my notes that I'm going to use. I know people always like data. How many delegates do we have? How many exhibitors? Okay, here we go. We have 817 delegates, as I call them. That's in fact the people in the audience. That's quite good when you compare it with Vienna. We have about 15 less than Vienna. We have some more or less than in Istanbul last time, but we have more than what we had in Copenhagen. So in fact, 817 is really a beautiful, excellent number. We have 172 exhibitors. That's a record. We have 66 accompanying persons, and that brought, in fact, 1,077 registered people here to Prague, and I'm proud of that. When you look at the exhibition, we have 58 exhibitors using about 1,000 square meter net space. We had 247 accepted papers, 164 posters, and 10 sponsors. I thank you all for being here because it's great to see you all. I will go through the sessions very shortly, and I will just pick up what I thought it was interesting. Ismail Ertug, he said, we have to use the new technologies and we have to be professional. We have to be professional. Keep it in mind. And then the Minister of Transport of the Czech Republic, he wanted from this Congress some new technologies to save costs and nature. And I know he's not here, but I would like to reply to him that we have a lot of technologies and we at least brought several here that he can use, and I invite him really to use the technologies that were presented over here. Then we went to the session with road owners and road users view. And we started, we had, for instance, Jean-François Coté, who explained us that transportation and mobility are central for the sustainable development. And of course, as the title of the Congress, that maintenance of our greatest asset is very important. But the last sentence is even more important. More cooperation is needed between public and the private sector to develop balanced contracts. And you will see that this last sentence will show up more often in my slides. And it means that it's very important. Donna James, in fact, addressed the same issue. She was looking for optimum ways to minimize risks for all parties, so to have good contracts. She is looking for a deeper understanding of each other's motivation and drivers for mutual benefits. We have to work together. And she would like to have contracts that do motivate. When you look at Thierry Gauguin, in fact, he said the same. He said, innovation and the implementation of innovation is very important. And I told Thierry in the past already that if there is no motivation to innovate, there will be no innovation. And it means that we have to work together, all of us, we have to work on creating in contracts a motivation for innovation. I think there is no need for you to explain why we have to innovate, because if we don't innovate, nobody will work in our industry in the future. When you look at external factors, then you also could look at, let's say, the influence of our rolling resistance on the fuel reduction of vehicles. When I listened to the presentation of Ms. Sans, I was really amazed to see the figure as you see on the screen. 41.5 billion euro for innovation. I thought I didn't read it well. I think we are jealous. Then we had Vincent from the European Commission. He talked about the circular economy, and he saw a big potential for recycling and for the use of industrial waste or symbiosis. I would like to say we have a product that is 100% reusable, we have a product that is 100% recyclable, and that should be our first priority. And we should not use things we shouldn't use. I mean, we produce asphalt and not asphalt. He also mentioned that some member states are already doing very well and they already meet the target of recycling, reusing 70% of reclaimed asphalt or more. So that's great. Being here in Czech Republic or in Czechia, I could say that for Czechia there is some room for improvement. And Vincent also mentioned the potential for innovation and investments. That's fine. One last thing on this from the European Commission. When things go well, the European Commission will publish the European Green Public Procurement for road design and construction and maintenance this year. And over there you will have green public procurement criteria that can be used on a voluntary way by the public authorities. Then we had Isabel Müller. She told us that there is no need to be worried about bitumen in the future, so it will be available. And then we had the session where the industry showed what they can do. And we started with Bjarne Smit from the Dennis Road Directorate, and he talked about rolling resistance, and he showed that we can reduce the rolling resistance of services by using the right aggregate, etc. We can reduce the rolling resistance with 10%, and that could lead to a fuel consumption reduction of 6%. To say that in general, when you look at the rolling resistance, in fact, two things are important. That's in fact the evenness and the texture. So in fact, the first solution is in fact to look at the fine aggregate for the service courses. Also, Bjarne mentioned cooperation is needed between the industry and the road authorities to make progress. And please keep that in mind. We have to work together to make progress, and we need to make progress. Then we have Arjen de Bond from Omcivil. He talked about ways to use new technologies that are beneficial for the road construction industry, for the road users and for the society, and he showed that the 2 million he invested was easily earned back in the project. And he also said that, in fact, when you've done this for motorways, you should incorporate the maintenance aspect for the future, because that is really decisive in finding solutions. And he showed that when you really invest money, when you do very good research, then you can, let's say, improve the durability of porous asphalt, and if you do your best, you can improve it up to 50%, and at the same time, you reduce the environmental impact with 30%. I mean, that's super. The last quote from Arjen: if you want quality, you ask for quality and you will get it. And I think that's also important for the people from the Road Authority side here in the audience. Then we went to another Dutch guy, Rien Huurman from the BOM, and he was talking about recycling. And as you all know, recycling started a long time ago, and we still discuss it. Okay, the focus, as Rien said, and of course that's clear, the focus is in fact on getting the heat into the reclaimed asphalt. And he said we should stop downcycling, and we should in fact reuse the asphalt at the same place as it came from. And he gives a beautiful example of, let's say, thinking out of the box and developing new technologies. I hope you all saw it. If you didn't see it, then you will be able to find it somewhere on the website. He showed a real beautiful development they did. And in short, they have a lot of reclaimed asphalt, of porous asphalt in the Netherlands. They want to reuse it, they should reuse it. And in fact, what they did is, in fact, they decompose the asphalt in its components. They heat and treat the reclaimed mortar. They added rejuvenated to it, and they treat it in a good way. Then they sieve the reclaimed stones. They foam the mortar they created at a temperature, and then they in fact produce the mixture at the temperature of 105 degrees Celsius. So just imagine porous asphalt at 105 degrees Celsius using the old stones you already had. It's really super new. Then Etienne Le Bouteiller of IBEF, he talked about some new technologies in his area, and he also suggested us to look at the agriculture industry, because they are really ahead of us. They do much more things as we do. And he also mentioned data acquisition, data processing, and if we want, we can learn a lot and we can do a lot. And I can tell you, when you look at some contractors in the Netherlands, they already do all those things that I mentioned over there. Okay, then the bitumen industry. The landscape is changing, and quality and consistency might be an issue. I think most of the contractors know the issue, so no need to repeat it. We have to keep an eye on the quality of the bitumen. We also should keep an eye on all the things that might be added to the bitumen. And you could say that there are several people who sell stuff, who sell sometimes rubbish, and they call it a very good product for our asphalt industry. But I only would like to warn you, be careful what you buy, because certain things are not designed to improve the quality of the bitumen, but certain products are just waste products, and somebody wants to get rid of it. So be very careful what you do, and don't do things you will regret after a few years. When I would summarize the first day, I would say, looking at what Jean-François Coté said, looking at what Donna said, or Thierry, or Bjorn, or Arjen, in fact, they all address contracts. And you could say that my conclusion from the first day is, in fact, a motivation for innovation is needed in contracts. And I could repeat it. We really need a motivation for innovation in contracts, because if there is no motivation to innovate, we will not innovate. And that also means that for the road authorities that don't give us the possibility to innovate, they will always get a lower quality product than they can have. And that's a waste of money, and I know the road authorities do not have much money. So in fact, if you want to invest your money in a good way, ask for new solutions, because look at the example of in the Bond. When you have new solutions, in the end, you are much cheaper. Then we go to the second day. Over there we started with recycling and reuse, and several topics. And when you look at the newer topics, you could say that we had quite some papers on binder aging and binder hardening, softening, rejuvenators, and high percentages of reclaimed asphalt. So you could say that there are two things for me. You see higher percentages of RAP, beautiful, it's possible, you see it in the Netherlands, but of course you also have to take care of your binder, because in fact you should, let's say, soften or rejuvenate your aged binder, and there are different rejuvenators available, and we also had different papers and presentations on that subject. We can produce recycled pavements with a high quality and also with a high reclaimed asphalt content, no problem. We have shown it for the last 30, 40 years, so no need to demonstrate it again. Lars Forstein mentioned or recommended in his introduction that in fact we should look a little bit more at the binder blends in the future. Because in fact you have, let's say, the old binder, you have the new soft binder, or you have a rejuvenator, and it might be very useful to look a bit more at that to see what you should do to get the right binder in the new product. Okay, more reclaimed asphalt in service courses. Rien Huurman, I already mentioned it, had a great presentation on the subject, so you can reuse the old surface layers to produce new surface layers. And the main advantages of asphalt is, of course, that it is 100% reusable. Then we had, as a parallel session, you know, we had a parallel session for the first time in the conferences, we had a parallel session on how to become an asphalt advocate. It was a communication workshop, and Katrina already mentioned it. Okay. I only can repeat that communication is key for our industry. We have to tell the people what we are doing. And when you inform the people you should inform, then you could say that start to identify your target audience, who do you want to talk to, and then approach them in their own language so they understand what you mean. And when you look at the media to be used, you could say that you have to use all available media. So that means that you use new and social media, but also don't forget, let's say, the normal or existing media. I mean, when you look, for instance, at the alarm survey in the United Kingdom, it is great to show what's happening. And then printed media can also be very important, as well as TV, radio, and all the other things. In fact, you should become, let's say, friends with the press. They are road users, they use our product every day, and I think the only thing we provide is a good service for them. So in fact, you should get the press on your side. You should inform the press about what we are doing, so they can also talk about the things that are concerning us. We have a great product, and somebody said during the workshop, every journey starts with the roads. And keep it in mind. So in fact, what we have is a great product, and everybody is using it every day. So that means that whenever you leave your home, you will start using our product, and tell your neighbor what you're doing, tell your friends what you're doing, because I know from my own experience that they will be amazed. They will be amazed when they hear what technology is behind it. Then the next session was mixing performance and testing, and there we saw a lot of papers on aging. You you could say that the more we know about aging, the more we realize that it is even more complicated than we thought. So you can see a lot of things have an influence on it, and in fact more or less everything has an influence on aging. Also, as you can see at the bottom of the slide, we have to look at, or we have to look more at the mortar. In fact, we looked often at bitumen properties, but we should not forget that you mix the bitumen with the filler, and that can really change the properties of the mastic. So in fact, it would be very useful to focus a little bit more on mastic, because that's important. Then health, safety, environment. We talked, for instance, about noise. We talked about porous asphalts. We talked, okay, I mentioned it, that you can make it more durable by using polymer modified binder, by using a good aggregate, and by using a good filler. We also had, let's say, some new information about the continuous story of porous mastic asphalt. Most of you, I hope, know the product. The concept is promising, but they still have a few things to be solved. But if you do it in the right way, you have a noise reduction that is better than SMA 8. Then emissions, just one short word. When you use a wall mix asphalt, then you have less emissions. That's good for the environment, that's good for the workers. Another interesting thing for me was, in fact, to see the cooperation between the BAST in Germany and Rijkswaterstaat in the Netherlands. They really work together on measuring skid resistance, and I would say that's great, because that saves money, that joins forces, and when you work together, I mean, it's much more efficient than do everything in a different way. There was also a new test presented to measure skid resistance and smart raveling, and you can see a picture of the device over here. It might be a promising device in the future, we will see. But it was at least something totally new, and in the future you might be able to use it to optimize the tire pavement interaction, which is quite important. Then we go to binder performance and testing. You could say that new this time is in fact the attention we put on biomass, so in fact bio binders. So we had papers on the use of vegetable oil, about lignin, cashew nut shell oils, etc. So we see that we get more products to enhance the properties of bitumen or to modify it. And we also had some things on nanotechnology, and that's also a promising area. It is still in development, and I expect a very nice paper in 2 years from now from Switzerland on the subject. Of course, we also had a lot of papers regarding bitumen testing. We had papers on the multiple stress creep recovery test, where they did some research on the precision. We talked about aging, and even somebody suggested to use super pave grading system here in Europe. I'm not so sure, but you never know. As I said, I'm talking about things I saw and things I liked, and over here you see a test. I think it's really promising, at least that's my opinion. You could call it the SARA Plus method. So in fact, in the Western Research Institute in the United States, together with some companies here in Europe, they worked on a new way to characterize bitumen. They realized that SARA itself was not good enough. They also looked at, let's say, the other side to look at all the molecule distributions, but it was also a bit too complicated. So in fact, they tried to find a new method. And they looked at it because they had the opinion that the present standards for the paving grade bitumen was not so satisfactory regarding performance of the finished product as some people think. I only can tell you, please read the paper. It will be back at the next Congress, I'm sure. I think it's a very promising test, and it might help us to understand why some bitumens are preferred in certain cases. And you know all that the practice, people prefer a certain bitumen for a certain project. And when you ask them why, they say, I don't know, but I know it works. And maybe this will help you to understand why certain bitumens work in certain cases. Then we also had a seminar on smart management of road infrastructure. And over there, in fact, they first of all explained to each other why the roads are so important. Of course, we know it also, no need to mention it. Roads connect people, roads connect regions, and the way we look at it, it's of course the backbone of the industry. To be honest, everybody says it in the same way, so it's not so unique, but you have to tell the people that you are unique, because otherwise nobody will believe it. Somebody else came with a very nice suggestion, and he or she said we should invest in our most social asset, roads, because roads are very social, because in fact they connect people and they bring people together. You also could say that for us, and also for the road users, the roads are so normal that people don't think about it. They take it just for granted and they think it's there and it all remains over there. But a lot of people don't realize that we have to maintain our roads. And that means we have to maintain them before they really collapse. The problem is that when you have a bridge, you can say we have to close the bridge like they do in Germany because we don't trust it. They don't say it with roads because the roads don't collapse. They can crack, and when they are totally cracked, you have an unbound road, and you can still use an unbound road. What we have to do is, in fact, we have to inform the managers, because the managers have to become smarter and they have to really understand what a road maintenance strategy means. I mean, we have asset management systems, we have road management systems, we have everything, so we have the knowledge, but in fact we have to inform those guys what's really important. We also had 2 poster sessions. It was a great success. We also saw a beautiful electronic poster, very great, and I'm looking forward to the next ones. Warmex asphalts. We already use a Warmex asphalt for 20 years. So it started in Barcelona, and now we are still trying to convince each other that it's good. And in fact, please start to use it. Warmex asphalt has many advantages. And in fact, there is a need for a change. And it means that we must understand, we must in fact inform the key stakeholders so they understand and that they accept Warmex asphalt. And they also will help, let's say, the industry in a certain way by, for instance, innovation stimulies to get that product rolling. Because it's great, it's good, and it is the future, but we need to find some incentives to go forward. We saw some nice examples of Norway and the United States where they had incentives to use Warmex asphalt, and over there it's rolling. And in fact, the contractors need some economic incentives to boost the implementation. As I said, Warmex asphalt is the future. We will only use Warmex asphalt in maybe 50 years from now, but it will be used, and please start learning. Then we also saw some nice things in the maintenance and rehabilitation. There was a paper from the Netherlands where they showed on a very beautiful way ways to increase the pavement service life. And they have techniques available, proven, that extend the service life of porous asphalt. They got very good results, and it is implemented. So in fact, they do use it now. We also had a very nice paper from Norway talking about the influence of the asphalt workmanship on pavement service lives. We all know it, of course. We all know that it's important to have good people working on the road, and we should have those people to avoid premature failures. In Norway, in some contracts, they have now requirements for a certificate showing that the workers have a certain training and they pass an exam, so they are qualified. And please think about it. Remember what Ismail Ertug said. We have to be professionals, and we should be professionals. That means that we only should use people that know what they are doing and that they are trained. And when you look at the Public Procurement Directive, when you read it carefully, you will see that it's one of the possibilities for the road authorities to use in the contracts. So, in fact, if the road authorities are smart, in fact, they should use those things. Then we had the session on sustainable development. That's a very complicated one. You have all kinds of things like EPDs, or environmental product declarations, you have product category rules, and you have a lot of other things. And in fact, I could say that there are two things that are important. First of all, I think the European Commission should help us a little bit to harmonize the things so it becomes clear so it becomes clear in which direction we should go into the future. And then on the other hand, we also should work on that issue from the asphalt industry itself to make certain that decisions are being made on the appropriate data to ensure that the outcome is also, in fact, the best one for us. And you could say that it's better to be at the table than to be on a menu. And we have to be involved and engaged. Okay, when you talk about sustainable development, you talk about rolling resistance. I already mentioned that. Then you have also a lot of software to show the environmental impact of road construction. And in my opinion, we have more than enough software to do it. And that can only help the road authorities to evaluate the environmental impact between different solutions. I have the idea that at this moment it's more the business of consultancies to develop as much as possible, but if you really want things to be used, then it should be implemented. And the green public procurement might be, or is a possibility to implement those things. I'm going to my final conclusions, and I would like to say, when you look at the last 3 days, when you look at what we heard, you can say that we have all the technologies we need. We can recycle up to every level. I mean, we can go up to 95%, let's say we can go up to 100%. We can do it, we know how to do it. We can modify our bitumen. We can modify our bitumen in the way we want. We know how to design pavements, we know how to reduce CO2, we know what we should do. We have the knowledge to educate people. We have the knowledge to educate students. We have the knowledge to educate the next generation. We have a lot of IT possibilities. We can use all the technology that is already available. We have everything on stock. Everything is there. And I would say there is only one thing, in my opinion, that is missing. We need a good contract system to be able to implement the technologies we saw here in Prague, to be able to build roads in a sustainable way. And I would like to repeat it. We all, in my opinion, need contracts that allow us to innovate, that allow us to use new technologies. And we, as a JAPA, we will work on it. But over here in the audience, we have also several people from the road authorities. Please look at the slide. Please think about it. And if you really want to move forward, you should innovate. If you really want to move forward, you should implement new technologies and new tendering system. You should ask for it. To say it short, we have a lot. We would like to show it, and please give us the possibility to show what we can. Thank you.
Thank you. Please come back and join us in our lovely sitting room with different chairs. How many hours did it take you to put together that comprehensive resume? Were you up all night?
To be honest, it was a few days, yes?
Ah, it was a few days. I thought you were, oh, I just dashed it off in half an hour. Okay, it was a few days. In fact, I liked, because the shortest one was the poster session, which said, a great success. So I liked that. But I think you've given a really comprehensive overview and some very key takeaways for people. So thank you very much. And I think the PowerPoint will be available online. So there you go. You don't even have to look at all your notes you've taken. You can just borrow his. Brilliant. Thank you very much. Siobhan, it's your turn. I would suggest that Siobhan has actually been busier than Hillary Clinton these last few days, certainly in the last few months. So a big round of applause, please, for the President of Eurobitume.
Okay. Actually, I'm starting a little bit in disappointment, actually, because I thought I'd get a Madonna mic, like Katrina's been wearing the last 3 days, but apparently I had nothing to hook it onto. So I will stand by the podium and talk to you. So, hello, good afternoon. I promise I won't speak too long, because it is that time of the Congress where people are starting to look towards the weekend. But I was reflecting and on the last few days, and one of the first questions, or probably the most frequently asked questions, I should say, that I've been asked myself is, was I happy with the end result? So I was thinking about this. Here's my little checklist that we've been working as a team towards to ensure that we have a successful Congress. Obviously the location, the whole technical program, everything you would normally expect, but it's quite a long list. At the end, we've also added a new feature, which is a professional moderator. I think we'll keep that on the list. So as you can see, it's quite a long list of very things that will take a lot of time and effort to actually achieve. But, okay, I think we've delivered, so I'm very, very happy. I think we delivered on all of that. But of course, to achieve all these results, we also have our own Congress infrastructure of people that have given a lot of time and resources to actually make sure that we have created that checklist and had that tick at the end of the day. I'm not going to go through everybody's names. A lot of the people are mentioned on the website or in the programme, but of course you saw technical programme. That just doesn't happen. There's a whole committee, there's authors that also take their time to write the papers. Very important, the reviewers that actually review the papers. So it's a whole process involved behind putting together this Congress. The posters, they have to be done. Obviously the speakers, they prepare our excellent interpreters. And then you come to the other side of the Congress, the exhibitors outside that have been entertaining you during the coffee breaks, the lunch, etc., keeping you energized for the next technical session. The sponsors, you've seen them throughout the whole 3 days. Without them, you wouldn't get all the little added extras that they sponsored. And then you come down to the organizing of it all. And we've had a steering committee, but a very active organizing committee. And we've also had a very exceedingly busy and professional Congress organisers here in Prague, which is Garant. And there was one lady in particular, would be a lady, that I would want to have a special thank you to, because she has been running around everywhere in the last coming months and been our kind of person that we rely on to make sure everything was done. So I'd like Jitka, if you don't mind, would you come up on the stage just for a few seconds? So this young lady has been the person that's kept everything together for the last months, and we've all been very nervous about things. So I'd like everybody to give her a special thank you from the organising committee. And she's probably saying, I hope I don't see you again in another 4 years, but thank you, Jitka. And of course, there is another lady we'd like to thank, because without Katrina, I don't think we'd all be sat here and feeling as maybe such positive messages throughout the whole 3 days. She's really pulled together the stories that we wanted to say as an industry. So I'd like Katrina to maybe come towards me, and we would like to give you a small token of our appreciation.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you.
We tried to give her something that would be able to take on the plane because she's going off this afternoon, but it's the thank you for all that. So, of course, the final ingredients of everything is really, it's you. I mean, to have a successful Congress, it's the people that attend, it's the participants, it's the audience out there, it's you that actually make the difference. So we can put together the Congress, we have our checklist, we put together all the elements, but the main ingredients that makes it so special is you guys. So really thank you all for lasting till the last day, but also for your support during the last 3 days. So thank you very much. So, I said at the beginning, I asked myself a question, the people are asking me if I was happy, but really, we should be asking you, are you happy? I won't put you on the spot right now. There's a survey that will be sent out to all the participants, I believe, next week, and we really welcome your feedback. It's very valuable to us to develop future events and to hear your thoughts, etc. But I did take the time to just write down a few tweets that I've been reading the last few days. I was trying to gauge for myself what if there was a positive reaction to the Congress. So just some quotes here. Full house in the parallel session, North Hall. That was early this morning, so that was a good one. More great technical sessions on day 3. Great success. Atmosphere of exchange and move. Thank you. Experts sharing experiences. Good news, there are solutions for road maintenance. The asphalt advantages. Advocates' army has started. The growing interest in communications is a good thing. Many new ideas. I mean, so I think when I look through all these tweets that have been coming in, that I think I can safely say that there is a good, positive atmosphere generated by the Congress. So, but as I said, please respond to the survey. It is important to us. So, before I finish with all the thank yous, there is another very unique thank you that we'd like to do today. If I ask Carsten to join me on the stage. There's one particular person that's been a member of the steering committee and organising committee for quite some time, and I'd like Carsten to introduce that person.
So, welcome everybody. Egbert, I'd like you to join me, please.
I don't like surprises.
He doesn't like surprises.
He doesn't like
Did you hear
surprises.
that? He's getting a surprise.
That's the reason
now.
why we want to have a surprise. No. You're comfortable?
Not quite.
Not quite. Okay. So I had to write down because I want to get every word right to address this man. Yeah. Dear Egbert, this has been your 4th E&E Congress you have been involved in the last years so far. You have been in an official position, first time in 2004 in Vienna, then in Copenhagen, in Istanbul, and now here in Prague. This time again as the chairman of the organizing committee. But this one will unfortunately also be your last one, because you will retire before the next one in 2020. So we think this is a good moment to address you for all this work you have been doing for the success of this event. Dear Egbert, all involved from EAPA and from Eurobitume want to say thank you for all these years of very hard, very good and very successful work for the E&E Congresses. Your experience, good Dutch organizational talent, together with passion, made the Congresses so far a big success story for the whole asphalt sector and the asphalt people, for you. Now we want to say thank you for your dedication and commitment during these years with a present that is linked to another passion of you, the photography. We invite you for a photo safari in Amsterdam because you have always taken these wonderful pictures for the memory of us all. Ladies and gentlemen, Please give a warm applause for this man's work for the E&E Congresses. Wait, we have to give you the present first.
Thank you very much.
Press. Thank you.
I thank you all. It was always a pleasure for me to be here and to see to it that you have a great Congress. You can imagine that I was a bit unhappy because I'm used to be in control. And this was something I had no control of, so I didn't know what was happening. I know that several people attended all the E&E Congresses until now, from the first E&E Congress until this one, the 6th. I know several people who did it. I will be there the next time, and I will see you again. Thank you.
Okay, so can anyone tell me where the location was for the very first E&E Congress? I can give you a clue, it was 1996. Yes, well done. Slides are not coming on, here we go. So, Strasbourg, then it was Barcelona, Vienna, Copenhagen, Istanbul, Prague. And then obviously 2020, we have to pick somewhere very special because these have all been very exciting locations. Anyone recognize this? Of course, it's Madrid. So we'd like to announce that in 2020, the E&E Roadshow, the Olympic Games, whatever we call them, will be heading out to Madrid. So for the next 4 years, we will be planning that Congress. So make sure you have that in your diaries. But also, we have some additional news to tell you, which is maybe news to some people in the room, that, you know, these surveys that you give us in, they are important. We do listen to you as participants. And one of the features that was coming out from the survey constantly was, why wait 4 years? We want to meet more frequently. Of course, this Congress itself does take a long time to organise with the technical programme, etc. But what we decided to do was look for a different format. So we're launching Asphalt Days, and these will happen in the even years in between the Congress. So there'll be, every 2 years, there will be an opportunity to meet. The concepts, the format's slightly different. Obviously, it's a little bit shorter. It's a half afternoon, an evening, and a morning. There'll be no paper submission. Mike's sighing a relief there. But we will obviously invite some speakers to speak on some topical themes, so we'll plan the programme for you. We'll have potentially a smaller exhibition area. So, and of course, obviously, we'll have an event dinner. So really the aim is to keep on the success, build on the brand of the E&E, give you a chance, an opportunity to keep in contact and for us to keep communicating. So, where will be the first E&E Congress? I actually wanted balloons, but they wouldn't let me. So, you're going to have the visual effect. So, anyone recognise this? Another fantastic skyline. So the first E&E Asphalt Day will be held in 2018 in the magnificent city of Berlin. So I want to leave you with a save the date, 2 dates this time. We have 2018 in Berlin and we have 2020 in Madrid. I look forward to seeing you all at both these events, but I just wanted to leave you with a message that, remember, it's you, what you do, that makes a difference. So hopefully you will leave this event, this Congress today, and think about what will you be doing between now and 2018 to help promote and communicate what the marvellous and positive messages that we've been hearing already from Egbert and Katrina that have been generated through this event. So thank you all. Personally, I'm very happy. I hope you're very happy, and look forward to seeing you in 2 years' time.
Thank you very much. All roads lead to Berlin then, next, it would seem. The external moderator always gets the last word. That's what's so fantastic. So I promise it's one page of last word. It's super quick. Siobhan has already done all the thanks that I was going to do, to you, to the interpreters, to the speakers. I wanted to add another couple who've been particularly helpful for me, alongside Siobhan, who has been absolutely phenomenal in her organisational capacities and her commitment to this Congress. I also want to say thank you to Carsten, because you've been brilliant, and I know you've helped. You told me it took 2 years to gather all of these speakers. It's absolutely insane. So you need to start now for Berlin, even though it's smaller, clearly. And also thanks to Mike Southern, wherever you may be, because Mike Southern was a blooming genius in getting people onto this stage at the right time. So thank you for your sterling work too. So a round of applause, please. From me, I just want to say it's been a genuine privilege to be amongst you all these last days. I will say again, what a cool, what an interesting, and as I said before, kind of sexy industry. You need to get your voice out there also at European level, because it's by raising awareness amongst those key policymakers that you really can tackle some of your industry's main challenges. The thing that wasn't said and really struck me from the last session I did is don't forget that your sector is not so very different from the social sectors that tend to get funding priority. Why? Because your sector underpins all of those sectors, all of these big things that European and national politicians are very hot on. Sustainability, improving people's quality of life. Your essential asset literally serves economy and society in an indispensable way. And as Etienne Leboutier said, you are solution providers, you're not just producers. And as one of my dinner partners said last night, and I promise to quote, "Black is back." So I will end on that note. I wish you a very good lunch. I bid you a wonderful day. I bid you a safe and sustainable trip home. And what do I say? Don't go away with the headsets, because you'll get thrown to the ground and frisked. And when you go out there for lunch, you are going to be treated to a performance from a Dutch percussion band called TOG, I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce that, which basically translates as to our mutual satisfaction. It's a good message to go home with. 18 people between 15 and 61 years old. So enjoy yourself, eat, tweet, be happy. A very good day to you all. Goodbye.